A flight attendant sees an elderly black woman step onto a private jet and instantly tries to stop her. Says she's on the wrong plane, says she doesn't belong. What she doesn't realize? The woman isn't just a passenger, and by the time the truth lands, it's already too late. The jet gleamed under the morning sun like a blade, parked on a private runway just outside Atlanta. Everything about it said silence, power, and money, the kind of wealth that didn't need to be loud. Inside, the cabin was calm, cool, untouched. Rows of cream leather, glossy mahogany trim, champagne chilling, glassware aligned like crystal soldiers. Caroline stood in the galley, her blazer sharp, hair tight, eyes focused. She'd done this 100 times. Private flights for clients who liked to fly above the noise. She knew how to blend into the background, to serve, to smile, to stay out of the way. But she also knew how to spot trouble before it stepped on board. Or so she thought. The manifest listed 3 passengers, no names, just initials, 1 VIP. That usually meant old money, or new money pretending to be old. Either way, she expected suits, watches, probably European shoes. What she got was something else. The first 2 arrived exactly on time. A tech investor in a tailored navy suit, and a woman who looked like she belonged more to his portfolio than his life. She walked like everything was too boring to notice. He walked like he owned the world. Caroline greeted them. They didn't really respond. And then, the third figure appeared at the top of the staircar. A woman. Black. Maybe in her late 60s. Dressed in a soft grey coat, heels low and practical, a small black leather purse in hand. No designer logos, no assistant, no flash. She walked calmly, slowly, like someone with time, someone with nothing to prove. Caroline blinked. Once, twice. She stepped forward, cutting her off at the door. "Hi there," she said, voice firm but polite. "Can I help you?" The woman offered a gentle nod. "Yes, I'm here for this flight." Caroline tilted her head. "This is a private jet." "I know. And this flight is chartered." "I know that too." Caroline tightened her stance just slightly. The smile faded. "This isn't a public terminal, ma'am. You might be looking for the commercial gate." "I'm not." A pause. Something about the way the woman said it. Calm, clear, no aggression, but full of certainty. "I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to leave the aircraft," Caroline said, standing square in the doorway now. "I don't want to have to involve security." The woman didn't flinch, didn't argue, just looked past her, toward the open cabin, the empty leather seats, and stepped inside. Caroline followed quickly. "Ma'am, I'm serious. I need you to stop right now or I'll call for assistance." The woman walked down the aisle slowly, resting her hand on the seat near the window. "I'd like to sit here." Caroline stepped in front of her. Her voice got sharper. "I don't know who you think you are, but this isn't how private flights work. You don't just walk onto someone's jet and claim a seat. That's not how any of this works." Silence. Then the woman turned her head and asked, softly, "Do you know who owns this aircraft?" Caroline scoffed. "It's not you." From the back, the investor chuckled under his breath. His girlfriend smiled behind her phone. And then, a voice from the cockpit. "Dr. Ellis, we're ready for pre-flight when you are." Caroline froze. The pilot, Captain Howard, stood in the doorway. He looked straight at the woman. No hesitation, no confusion. The woman nodded once, still calm, still quiet. "Thank you," she said. Caroline turned slowly, like the temperature had dropped 20 degrees. I didn't realize," she said under her breath. The woman removed her coat, handed it to her, and said nothing. She sat in the seat she'd chosen, pulled a tablet from her purse and crossed her legs. Caroline stood there, stunned, her cheeks flushed, her hands awkward at her sides. "Would you like a drink?" she offered, voice cracking. The woman didn't respond. Caroline turned toward the galley, heart pounding like a drum in her chest. She could feel the eyes behind her, the investor's smirk, the girlfriend's grin, the humiliation blooming across her face like fire. She stood by the coffee station, gripping the counter, trying to pull herself back into control, trying not to feel how badly she'd messed up. The pilot returned to the cockpit. The engines roared to life, the doors sealed, and the plane began to roll forward. Carrying 3 passengers, one mistake and a silence heavier than the jet itself. Before I continue, if you're still watching and this story has your full attention, hit that subscribe button now and turn on notifications. Because what happens next changes everything. The jet cut through the clouds like silk. Inside, silence ruled. Caroline stood behind the galley curtain, trying to slow her breathing. Her hands were trembling, just slightly. Her mind replayed the last 5 minutes in loops. Every word, every look, every misstep. She'd been trained to handle high-stress situations, turbulence, emergencies, unruly passengers. But nothing in her manuals had prepared her for this kind of mistake. She peeked past the curtain. Dr. Ellis was seated comfortably, reading something on a tablet, legs crossed, expression unreadable. There was nothing performative about her. No smug looks, no need to gloat. She simply existed in her space, a space she owned. Caroline stepped back, heart pounding harder now than it had when she first tried to remove her. She didn't know what to do. Should she apologize again? Try to offer something? A drink? A warm towel? Would that make it worse? Before she could move, the intercom crackled. Cabin crew, prepare for cruising altitude. She took a breath, checked the cabin one last time, and returned to the aisle. Champagne? She asked softly. Mr. Addison nodded. Ms. Carr declined, too focused on whatever was happening on her phone. Dr. Ellis didn't respond. Caroline turned toward her seat, hesitant. I have a 2006 Dom, she offered. Would you care for a glass? Dr. Ellis looked up. For a moment, nothing. Just eye contact. Then, a nod. Caroline poured it with steady hands. She placed the flute gently on the table next to her. Thank you, Dr. Ellis said quietly. The words were neutral, polite but not warm. Caroline nodded and stepped away. She could feel the pressure behind her eyes, the kind of pressure that builds when you're trying not to cry on the job. In the cockpit, the captain adjusted their flight path. From the altitude indicator, they'd be landing in just under 2 hours. Caroline stared at the countdown, prayed time would pass faster. Half an hour in, Dr. Ellis stood up. She moved with the same calm control as before, walked slowly down the aisle, and paused near the galley. Caroline turned, unsure of what was coming. Dr. Ellis didn't speak right away. When she finally did, her tone was even, not angry, not emotional. Just honest. I've been flying for over 30 years, she said. Charters, commercial, military once. You know how many times someone's tried to stop me from getting on my own flight? Caroline opened her mouth, closed it. I stopped counting, Dr. Ellis continued. But today, that look on your face, when you found out, that one's new. Caroline couldn't look at her. I made assumptions, she admitted quietly. No, Dr. Ellis replied. You made a decision. You looked at me, decided who I was, and treated me accordingly. That's not just bad service. That's personal. Silence. And then Dr. Ellis added, You know what bothers me the most? Caroline shook her head. You weren't cruel. You were certain. That sentence hit harder than any yelling ever could. I'm sorry, Caroline whispered. Truly. Dr. Ellis gave her a long, slow look. Then she nodded once, turned, and returned to her seat. For the rest of the flight, not much was said. Mr. Addison took a call. Ms. Carr fell asleep. The clouds outside turned golden as the sun began to drop over the horizon, and then a subtle shift. Just before landing, Dr. Ellis called Caroline over with a small motion of her hand. Caroline approached, unsure of what to expect. Dr. Ellis pulled something from her purse, a business card. She placed it on the table and slid it forward. Read it. Caroline looked down. Dr. Lorraine Ellis, Ph.D., founder and CEO, Selene Biotech, chairwoman, Ellis Aviation Group. She looked up again, eyes wide. You own all of it, Dr. Ellis said, including this jet, including the hangar we took off from. Caroline stared at the card like it burned her fingers. I started flying because no one like me was flying, Dr. Ellis said. Then I bought my own planes because no one like me owned them. And then I built a fleet because I got tired of asking for space in someone else's sky. Caroline didn't know what to say. Dr. Ellis stood up, gathered her things. As the landing gear deployed and the wheels hit the runway, the cabin rattled just slightly, but the weight inside Caroline didn't budge. When the door opened and the stairs lowered, a private black SUV waited on the tarmac. Dr. Ellis stopped at the top step, looked out, then turned back to Caroline. "You'll get better," she said, "if you choose to." Then she descended, step by step, and was gone. The wind whipped past the open door. The sunlight flared against the floor. And Caroline just stood there, holding the card and everything it meant.